Daniel chapter 4 and verse 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of man. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, glory, and praise to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles, the elders, great millstone, to the Akim and the Akmaf, listening and learning, Shalom. This is an article out of Political News, and it reads, 45 condemned the removal of monuments from slave owners and Confederate leaders as a destruction of American history. He called the audience smarter than the Democrats, who said it require absolute conformity. You know what 45 is saying. He's saying that you so-called black, Latino, Mexican, Native Americans who are out there protesting, marching, and tearing down their statues of their civil rights slave leaders, that he's saying you're destroying American history. And the article continued to read. He said they hate our history. They hate our values. They hate everything we as Americans value, pretty much. And that's what he's saying. You so-called black, Latino, Mexicans, and Native Americans, you are not American. He calling you a date. He calling you, basically he calling you the wicked of the earth. Okay, let's read this again. They hate our history. They hate our values. They hate everything we prize as Americans. 45 said, our country didn't grow great with them. It grew great with you and your thought process and your ideologies. And that's exactly how 45 and the rest of his Edomite followers feel. They feel like you so-called black, Latino, Mexicans, and Native Americans had nothing to do with building America. It was only founded and built on the blood, sweat, and tears, and the death and destruction, physically and mentally, of you so-called black, Latino, Mexicans, and Native Americans, because you are destroyed as of day, because you still can call yourselves black when you are indeed the biblical Israelites that the Bible speaks of. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and of Jacob. Y'all are the children of the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. But you can still call yourselves black in this captivity. But this Edomite is telling you that you so-called black, Latino, Mexican, Native Americans had nothing to do with building of America. You was enslaved. You worked for free. Your women were raped and robbed. Your men were castrated. Your men were hanged. Your men built this land. They cultivated the land. They built the buildings. They built the White House. They did everything, for this country. But yet he said you had nothing to do with it. Salakia. Yet 45 said you so-called black, Latino, Mexicans, and Native Americans had absolutely zero, to do with building, America and as they are slogan, making it great. So that's what not only 45 see, but the senators, the congressmen, and all the rest of the people that look like them, they feel the same way about you so-called black, Latino, Mexicans, and Native Americans. Genesis chapter 27 and 41. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then I will slay my brother Jacob. And that's the reason why Esau hates you so-called black, Latino, Mexicans, and Native Americans. And who is Esau? Is the so-called white man that the Bible speaks of. And because of the blessing. That's why he said that you had nothing to do with building America. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68. And the Lord Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. That no man shall buy you is redeem you. You were sent from Africa, but you fled out of Israel, and you were sent over here on slave ships to serve your enemies, Esau, Edom. And all that free slave labor that they got out of you guys, the blood, the sweat, the tears. Again, not only the blood, sweat, and tears, you were raped, robbed, you were destroyed mentally and physically, even unto this day, because you so-called black, Latino, Mexican, Native Americans continue to call yourselves bywords, especially you so-called blacks. Call yourself black. You are the biblical Israelites that the Bible speaks of, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and of Jacob. His name is Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. It's not JC. It's not Yah. It's not Jehovah. It's not all these other names that you're giving. The Most High Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai is the correct name. And you were sent in slavery over here to the Americas because you didn't follow the law, statute, commandments of the Most High Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. That's why 45 can say those things. Salakia. That's why 45 can say that you so-called black, Latino, Mexican, Native Americans hate their history. You hate their values. You hate everything that they prize as Americans. That this country didn't grow with them. You so-called black, Latino, Mexican, Native Americans, and you still marching in the streets, of America, to the same people who oppress you, the same people who say that you didn't help build. Salaki, the same people who say you didn't have anything to help to do with help building America and the foundation of this country that it sits on. And it sit on the blood, sweat, and tears of you so-called black, Latino, Mexican, and Native Americans. Yet 45 said that you had nothing to do with the building of this country. Matter of fact, he's saying that you hate their way of life. And what is their way of life? Their way of life is oppressing you so-called black, Latino, Mexicans, and Native Americans. Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 14. Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled? Israel is spoiled. You so-called black, Latino, Mexican, Native Americans are spoiled because you have adapted to the ways of the heathen, mainly Esau, Edom. You have adapted wickedness, into the very core of your foundation. But you won't repent and return to the Most High Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh Shai. And there's another article out of the AJC. It said 3 North Carolina police officers fired over racist rant. Reads, 3 members of a North Carolina police department have been fired after the department audit of a video recording captured one of the officers saying a civil war was necessary to wipe black people off the map, that he was ready. And again, you so-called black, Latino, Mexican, Native Americans, right now you are marching in the streets for police brutality. But you have to understand, this thing is so widespread that even your marching, it won't help. You got to return to the Most High Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. See, this thing is huge. This is nationwide. It's just 3 officers being accused of a racist rant and saying that a civil war is needed to wipe you so-called black, Latino, Mexican, Native Americans off the map. And you better believe there are thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, not just officers, but militia groups that all feel the same way about you so-called black, Latino, Mexican, Native American. Even 45 just said that y'all hate their way of life. But our people going to continue to march, on these streets of America, to beg the oppressor not to hate them, not to kill and gun you down in the middle of the streets, to give you equality, to make you feel that you're a human, to accept you as being a human being when they don't see you as being a human being. So you continue to march and look like idiots as opposed to coming to the Most High Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai to help you. You had officers in Atlanta, they calling out sick. They're having a sick out in Atlanta. I think somewhere else in the country you had about 70 officers didn't come to work because of suspension of 2 officers for pushing down another Edomite. But you have to understand that Esau hates you with a perfect hatred. And that will never change. So you so-called black, Latino, Mexican, Native Americans need to understand this. Don't march, but pray to the Most High Yahweh. Ezekiel chapter 35 and verse 5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by force of the sword in the time of their calamity, and the time that their iniquity had an end. Since the Emancipation Proclamation, the end of the slavery ended, that this devil has came up with all kind of draconian laws to continue to shed your blood, and yet you still ask your oppressor, Salakia, you still begging your oppressor, to make laws governing, for the well-being of your so-called black, Latino, Mexican, Native American. That won't happen. If a nation of people hate you, and that nation of people is Edom, Idumea, which is the so-called white man, why would they make any laws that will to benefit you. It don't make sense. But you so-called Black, Latino, Mexican, Native Americans are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Psalms chapter 25 and verse 19. Consider my enemies, for they are many, and they hate me with a cruel hatred. And Esau Edom, who is the so-called white man, he do hate you with a cruel hatred. And it's cruel when they chop off your privates, when they hang you on a tree, when they rip off the mother's womb and feed it to alligators. That's a cruel hatred. When they kneel on your neck for 9 minutes or 8 minutes, in the middle of the broad daylight, when he can just put his knee on your neck and just sit all his body weight with 3 other people, when they can just put all their body weight on you. That's a cruel hatred to kill a man like that. But we also know that's judgment from the Most High Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. But nevertheless, that's how much this devil hates you. Gather yourselves together. This is Zephaniah, Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1. Gather yourselves together. Yea, gather together, O nation not desired. And what nation is not desired? You so-called Black, Latino, Mexicans, and Native Americans. You are the nation not desired. Verse 2. Before the decree bring forth, before the day passes as shaft, before the fierce anger of the Lord Yahweh come upon you, before the day of the Lord Yahweh anger come upon you. Seek ye the Lord Yahweh, all ye meek of the earth, which have wrought his judgment. Seek righteousness, seek meekness. It may be ye shall be hid in the day of the Lord Yahweh's anger. And you need to repent and come back to the Most High Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and of Jacob. It's in Matthew chapter 3 and verse 2. And saying, repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And that's what you so-called Black, Latino, Mexican, Native Americans should be doing in these last days. We got pestilence. We got famine. We got earthquakes. We got uproars of the people. And we have everything that the Most High said will happen in the last days to let him know that his arrival is near, is nigh. And again, you so-called Black, Latino, Mexican, Native Americans, you should be repenting at this very moment. Asking the Most High Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai for forgiveness of sin or not keeping the law, statute, commandments that he gave to the Abraham, Isaac, and of Jacob. So in these last days, we need to come back to the true God. His name is Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. That the man of sin is being revealed, Esau, Edom. All the signs of the return of Yahweh Shai is present in the world today. We got this COVID-19 that's all around the world. The entire world is shut down. You got this RFID technology, the mark of the beast. It's being implemented. I think it's in Switzerland. It's already taking effect, and some other countries are already using it. China is using it. Now they even had a ring for the players. That's RFID technology. Salakia, that's that ring for the NBA basketball players. That's another form of this RFID technology. It monitors your heart rate. It monitors where you've been. It monitors if you're sick or not. That's just another form of RFID technology that this devil Esau Edom is coming up with. So in these last days, we need to understand this and open up the Bible to receive this knowledge. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and 3, verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. And that man of sin is Esau Edom, who is the so-called white man, who passed laws saying that a man can marry a man and woman marry a woman, who said that a woman is no longer considered a woman, but yet a fantasy. And this man of sin sit at the highest level of every political branch of government. He hold every seat at the highest level of the political structure. But yet you so-called Black, Latino, Mexican, and Native Americans still don't understand who this man of sin is. You still waiting for a little red man to come out of the ground that you can call the devil. And why our people are destroyed, they destroyed because they still marching, to the oppressors. They destroyed because they still don't have an understanding of who the wicked is on the earth. Hosea chapter 4 and verse 6, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy power, I will also forget thy children. And that's why our people are destroyed. Our people are out here marching, marching to the oppressor, being paid for by the oppressors, with this Black Lives Matter thing. Yet they asking the same oppressors, receiving the money from the oppressors to help them to govern or make rules to stop from oppressing you. Do that make any kind of sense? Matthew chapter 3, verse 2. Repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. I want to give all honor, glory, and praise to the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles, the elders, a great millstone, to the Akim and the Akwaf, listening and learning. Shalom.